Thanks so much to all my patrons. Join now to help support the channel and help pick the books that I review. Link in the description. And I am done. Okay, so I just got done listening to The Witch of Webs. This is book number, I don't know, like 14 or so of The Wandering Inn, and I want to give you my unedited thoughts upon finishing this book, which was literally just right now. So, yeah, this is I want to say I loved it, but I didn't. I liked this one. It was just good. I'm giving it 4 stars, which I think is the lowest I've ever given a Wandering Inn book, and just thinking about off the top of my head, the only one that I thought was on this level in terms of my enjoyability was the Wistrom one. And I think maybe I gave that 4 stars as well, maybe 4.5, I think 4. And yeah, this one, you know, it had all of the positive things that I come to know and love out of a Wandering Inn book. I'd say like a early to mid entry in one of the larger arcs where it's a slower plot points going through. And, all the characters that I love, and a setting that I love, and an audiobook narrator more than anything that I love. But it had some negative parts to it too that I'm not used to. Normally I'm just excited. Normally everything about it is perfect. And here there's some notable errors. So let's save those for a moment. Let's talk about the good, right? Starting off, I always got to talk about the good with the audiobook narrator. 𝐿, incredible. You know, one of the greatest audiobook narrators of all time, but it made it a little bittersweet listening to this one because I had heard the news recently that 𝐿 is no longer doing the audiobooks for The Wandering Inn. I think I have like 2 left of Andrea, and then I'm going to have to deal with the new audiobook narrator, whoever that is. And that is devastating because, man, 𝐿, so good. And it's almost like, to a lesser degree, hearing that, you know, your favorite author is no longer going to finish your favorite series. It's going to be picked up by somebody else. And it's like, oh, what? It's not going to be as good. You know, I just want the original one, right? And that sucks. So it made it different listening to this one because I'm listening to this one thinking like, I got to savor it, A, and B, like it made me give it a little more appreciation for what was going on there. I mean, I've always known and appreciated the wide range of voices going on here. But hearing Andrea complain about how it was like sucking the joy out of things, and it's too many voices, and it's hard to innovate and bring new things, I could see that. I could feel it coming from her if I'm hearing this, and I'm listening to it at the same time. So that was an interesting experience, but still trying to savor on to this while I still got it. And then it's going to be down to just a few of the upper tier of audiobook narrators, like the Jeff Hayes and the Stephen Pacey's. But okay, so we got that. And then we also got, you know, a setting that was that's one of my favorite settings in the story, which was most of this, which was the Unseen Empire. The Unseen Empire in the story is an empire run by a young man who is blind, and he has the class of emperor. And in this in the series, everybody has classes associated with them, like you're in a Dungeons and Dragons story, and you have skills that you get over time as you rank up. But the class is determined based on what you believe you are, and this character believed that they're an emperor, and they became that when they first showed up at this world. And an empire of like nothing, and their empire is slowly growing. And I have loved this character. I've loved the character. I've loved the all the plot points that we've gone through, with the exception of like Doreen. Doreen is this his, I think, like half troll lover, which is an odd combination of words, but it is what it is. And I don't like Doreen much. Doreen is just kind of whiny and doesn't live up to her potential, and it's just kind of a weaker character. But still, I love everything involving this. But I've heard so many people tell me that this is their least favorite character and their least favorite arc, and I've never really understood why. Well, I think I'm understanding a little bit more, because this story, it was like all about that, and it was too much of a good thing for the first part. But second, our main character, the Emperor, was gone for most of the story, and so we had to deal with this kind of whiny character as one of the pivotal characters of the story, and that definitely soured things. But I think the much larger reason is that the central storyline, even more than this empire, in this book is about these witches. We've had a lot of experience with one witch that is, we see her in a positive light in several of the books before this, 𝐒𝐨𝐜𝐢𝐚𝐥. But then in this one, a coven of witches comes together, and we start to meet several different ones that all have these rich personalities and these inner politics, and there's a pretty solid beginning, middle, and end to these witches. Maybe there's more that's going to go on, but it feels like we had a very solid story about these witches going on that never grabbed me emotionally. And I spent hundreds and hundreds, if not like 1,000 pages about these dang witches, and I just couldn't care. And that sucks. I feel like a lot of people probably loved them. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'll look at the ratings here after this and see that this is one of the least liked of the books. But yeah, so, for me not to like the central storyline is brutal, right? And so like there's so many other storylines out there that I didn't get any of that I'm obsessed with. The other continents, I got zilch. And I love all the storylines involving anything going on in the other continents. In fact, the further away from the main storyline in terms of geography, the more I'm into it. I love the world building and growing things. And at least sitting here thinking about it, did we get any of that? I don't think so. And that sucks. Give me more of that, right? And I'll go back that I am waiting for this series to essentially reach its potential, because what I've gotten up until this point is rich world building. I've got this huge sprawling story, arguably too sprawling, but for me it's fine. I think it's a turnoff for a lot of readers, but for me that reads tons of books and am happy just to let this series run on and me read it for a very long amount of time, that's totally cool with me. I appreciate how wide-ranging this story goes. But I'm missing that thing that ties it all together. And I'm not meaning like I want this to have a pretty little bow that's tied on that wraps up the story. I'm missing something that can tie all of the events to this story together and make them all feel like a cohesive story. Because right now it just feels like a bunch of little things. And if that's what it is, that's fine. I love the stories for what they are. But I don't think that's what this is. I think there's a bigger arc that will be growing over time. And I want that desperately. I want, essentially, I want the world to come together to battle some huge threat. Because we hear these whispers of these threats all the time. We had, and we see the aftermath of these threats going on in the story. Two or three huge ones. We had this huge worldwide conflict with this dude, the necromancer. And while we felt him out a little bit in these stories, there was this huge conflict that was awesome and had everybody come together to try to stop this great evil. And I loved that. We had the same thing with this king of the destruction in the southern continent that, was trying to take over the world. We had a goblin king that was trying to take over the world. We had the Antinium that are like a world level threat. But all these things happened before this story happened. So I'm waiting for one of or more of those to pop up that will just make it all really pop. And like, when's it going to happen? Okay. And I've said this before, and what I heard was, and I picked up these tidbits that people were like, oh, you're about to read Witch of Webs, it's about to happen. It didn't. And if this witch storyline is that, or you think that's what I'm talking about, it's not. It's not. I'm looking for something different. And so, I'm still on the hunt for that experience, and I hope it's out there. And if it's not, again, that's fine. But I'll be disappointed. But I'll still like the books. I just won't love the overall story. But I'll still recommend it and love it. It is like an overall experience and a good use of my time. But we can reach those heights, Pirateaba. We can do that together. And I'm here for it. So that is it for me. Thank you so much for watching this review. And as always, happy reading to you. Thanks again to all my patrons, with a special shout out to my Ascendant tier and Librarian tier patrons: Amy, Alex P, Anna G, Brady K, Doust, Darren, Jerry, Jonathan, Nev's Book Channel, Ron Reich, Ryan L, Sydney Baker, Anna, Blair, Eric Cannon, Joe UK, Kat Mick, Ricky Iman, and Sky. Thanks for sticking to the end of this video, and if you want to watch some more content from my channel, click over here and I've got some good videos for you. Thanks so much.